When you think of the greatest, most fearsome carnivores of all time, which animal comes to mind? If you guessed a T-Rex, you're not alone. For decades, this dino was thought to be the king of the dinosaurs. But a new study has revealed that it wasn't the top dog after all. So what was? Let's find out. Hi, and welcome to Paleologic. Today we are going to talk about how a new study suggests that the title of the greatest carnivore of all time actually belongs to another predator. But before we get into that, we need to talk about the T-Rex because this dino needs no introduction. Tyrannosaurus rex was one of the last and largest of the dinosaurs, and although it lived in what we now call the western side of North America between 68 and 66 million years ago, its fossils have been found across the world. The name Tyrannosaurus comes from the Greek word tyrannos, meaning tyrant, and Latin, regina, meaning queen. And the species name, rex, simply means king in Latin. So, put together, the name Tyrannosaurus rex translates to tyrant king. Pretty fitting for such a powerful animal. This dino was an apex predator, meaning it was at the very top of its food chain with nothing to fear from any living thing except perhaps humans. Why do I say perhaps? Well, because over the years, humans have done some pretty terrible things to these magnificent creatures, like turning them into toys and turning their skeletons into museum exhibits. The first T-Rex fossil was unearthed in 1902 in western Wyoming, and since then, paleontologists have uncovered around 38 specimens. What makes these finds so exciting is that thanks to these fossils, we can learn more about how the T-Rex lived. We know that it was huge, measuring up to 40 feet long and 13 feet tall, and weighing in at over 7,000 pounds. It had powerful legs and sharp claws that it used to chase down prey, and terrifyingly sharp teeth that could easily break through flesh and bone. For many years, scientists believed that the T-Rex was an extremely fast runner, capable of chasing down prey at speeds of up to 30 miles per hour. But recent studies suggest that it could only run at speeds of up to 7.5 miles per hour. Although that's slow compared to other large predators, remember that the T-Rex was really heavy, so it could still deliver a devastating blow when it did catch its prey. But while the T-Rex was certainly a fearsome creature, new research suggests that it didn't rule the roost like it's made out to be. You see, until recently, it was assumed that there were no predators larger than the T-Rex. However, a few years ago, a fossil was discovered in Argentina that turned everything upside down. The fossil belonged to a meat-eating dinosaur named Maposaurus rosei, but the specimen was so incomplete that scientists couldn't determine its size. Paleontologists estimate that the fossil is around 90 million years old, which puts it in the late Cretaceous period. This new discovery led to a debate among scientists who began wondering if the M. rosea was larger than the T-Rex. There was only one way to find out. A team of researchers decided to conduct a study to compare the two dinosaurs. Their findings were published in the journal Acta Paleontologica Polonica. The authors used the mathematical method of comparative data analysis to understand the relationship between body mass and skull size in carnivorous dinosaurs. The researchers examined 35 species of theropod dinosaurs, the group that includes birds, and all of the famous meat-eating dinosaurs like the Velociraptor, Spinosaurus, and of course the Tyrannosaurus. They collected data on each dinosaur's skull length, body length, thigh length, and weight. Then they analyzed the data and made some interesting discoveries. First, the team confirmed that the two largest theropods, the T-Rex and the M. rosea, were around 11,000 pounds and 13,000 pounds respectively. So clearly, the M. rosea was larger than the T-Rex. But that wasn't all the team discovered. They also noticed a link between the size of a dinosaur's skull and its overall body size. In other words, the larger the dinosaur, the larger its head. But why does this matter? Well, you see, a larger skull means more space for larger teeth, and more teeth means more surface area for biting and cutting through flesh. And don't forget, we're talking about some truly gigantic dinosaurs here. The Tyrannosaurus rex had a skull that measured around 5 feet long and was filled with around 60 teeth, each measuring about 12 inches long. That's enough to deliver a nasty bite. But the Maposaurus skull was almost twice the size of the T-Rex, measuring a whopping 9 feet long and filled with over 100 teeth, each measuring over 5 inches long. So not only was the M. rosea larger than the T-rex, but it also had a much bigger mouth with even longer, sharper teeth. Lead author of the study, Dr. Jordan Mallon, said in a statement, "Considering that skull size is closely related to bite force, this suggests that Maposaurs had much stronger bites than Tyrannosaurs." To put this into perspective, a T-rex had a bite force of over 12,000 pounds per square inch. That's enough to crush a car like a soda can. But the M. rosea's bite force was estimated to be around 24,000 pounds per square inch. To come up with those numbers, the team looked at the shape of each dinosaur's teeth as well as their jaw mechanics. Dr. Mallon explained, "We reconstructed their skulls and built 3D digital models to see how the teeth fit together when they bit down, how they moved, and how they would have worn down over a lifetime of use." Needless to say, if these two dinos ever went head-to-head, the M. rosea would have won every time. Thanks to this new study, we now know that the Tyrannosaurus rex wasn't the biggest or the strongest carnivore of its time. So does this mean it wasn't the king of the dinosaurs? Not necessarily. You see, despite being smaller, the T-rex still had impressive stats. It had a relatively lightweight skull for its size and shorter, thicker teeth that were excellent for crushing bone. This meant that the T-rex was well equipped to take on particularly tough prey. Not only that, but the T-rex was also smarter than its counterpart. It had a larger brain and better eyesight, which would have helped it hunt. And let's not forget about its incredible sense of smell. The T-rex could probably smell blood from miles away, which would have helped it track down injured animals. As Dr. Mallon explains, both dinosaurs were adapted for different strategies. The Maposaurus skull was optimized for delivering the most powerful bite force ever seen among theropods, whereas Tyrannosaurs were optimized for speed and endurance. In other words, the Tyrannosaurus rex may not have been the biggest or the strongest, but it was still a fearsome creature that ruled its environment. So the next time you hear someone say that the T-rex was the king of the dinosaurs, feel free to correct them. Tell them that although the T-rex was a mighty hunter, it wasn't the biggest or the strongest. That title belongs to the Maposaurus rosei, the real king of the dinosaurs. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to share it with your friends and family. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.